Welcome back. Now, the Chennai Corporation may have announced the opening of 3 new shelters in the city for the homeless after the Supreme Court ordered it to do so. But just a few days after the community received the news with joy, they are now flooded with disappointment. Our reporter Pratiksha tells you why.
These new night shelters are spacious and airy. Drinking water and bathroom facilities too are not bad either. But the prospect of it keeping the homeless here and off the streets is remote.
எங்களுக்கு அது மாதிரி மொத்தமா இருக்கிற மாதிரிலாம் வேணாம்மா. எங்களுக்கு வீடு வேணும். மாற்று இடத்துக்கு வழி பண்ணணும். அதுக்கு எங்களுக்கு மாற்று இடம் இதுதான் எங்க வீடுன்னு சொல்லி காட்டினா நாங்க அந்த இடத்துக்கு இந்த இடத்துக்கு எங்க வந்தாலும் நாங்க போக தயார். ஆனா இது மாதிரி மண்டபத்துக்கு அது மாதிரிலாம் தங்கிட்டுலாம் வர மாதிரிலாம் எங்களுக்கு வேணாம். அந்த இடத்துல எத்திரி வரணும். இங்க ரோட்ல படுத்து எங்களுக்கு சரியான பாதுகாப்பு. அங்க மட்டும் பாதுகாப்பு கிடைக்கும். நாங்க என்ன பண்றது?
The problem with the new shelters at Chindradripet and Coimbatore. Well, they are just 2 big halls. Also, they are open only from 6 in the evening to 9 in the morning. The community's fears over the safety of women and girls remain unsolved.
இப்போ புதுசா போற இடத்துல மட்டும் பெண்களுக்கு எப்படி பாதுகாப்பு வரும்னு சொல்ல முடியும்? நிறைய பேர் போறாங்க வராங்க ட்ரெயின்ல எவ்வளோ பேர் வராங்க. இப்போ எதனா ஒரு பொண்ணு அப்படியே தெரியாதனமா அந்த ட்ரெயின்ல இட்டுன்னு போயிட்டாங்க. யாருக்கு தெரியும் சொல்லுங்க? ஆனா இந்த வந்து ஒரு நாள் தங்குறது இந்த 12 நாள் தங்குறதுலாம் அந்த இதுவெல்லாம் யாருக்குமே வேண்டாம். தூங்குறது தான் மெயினுமா எங்களுக்கு பிரச்சனையா.
But Chennai Corporation officials say they have abided the Apex Court directive. Says providing family shelters was never part of the project.
Finding them a home and providing them a house is not contemplated in this project. That is probably the next step. We will be having projects like Rajiv Gandhi Awas Yojana and home for the shelterless people. Such projects are on the pipeline.
Meanwhile, NGOs say the project has been rushed through and that there was no community-level consultation at all. Although families make up 77% of Chennai's homeless population.
So in a sense, the community mobilization processes leave a lot to be desired. There is still a range of work needed in order for the homeless people themselves to know that such facilities are in existence.
Experts say the only way to rehabilitate the community, even in the short term, is to offer housing that meets practical concerns. But with the Chennai Corporation not offering family shelters anytime soon, pavement dwellers will continue to be a blot on civil society. In Chennai, Pratiksha Ramkumar for Ndtv-Hindu.
Joining us this evening is Mr. Amar Jyoti, Regional Manager with NGO Action Aid. Thanks very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.
First off, at a time when security of women is a prime concern, when we've had cases of rape and murder of young women and teenagers at places like Uttar Pradesh and Kerala, do you believe that, Tamil Nadu is now just really taking a chance? Because when it comes to rehabilitation, we've heard some mothers and some women talking about security being a prime concern when it comes to shelters like these.
Yeah, I believe the first step has definitely been taken by Chennai Tamil Nadu government, that they have already opened 6 shelters and they are going to open 12 more shelters. But that is the first step, but definitely much more need to be done, especially in the case of women and the girl children. They are most vulnerable. They are living in the street. They are subjected to a lot of abuse, and unless sufficient care is taken, and the women are particularly in the shelters that they have government has opened, there has to be different kind of facilities for the girls and the young women, and especially those who are walking on the street and vendors and all these people. They need lot of protection, so there has to be a kind of a detailed SOP, standard operating procedures need to be in place, so that those who are in charge of these shelters need to follow that very strictly. Secondly, most of these shelters are not very typically made for women now. There are old women and the men are staying. So there has to be, the Action Aid believes that there has to be separate shelter for the young women and the women, those who live in the street. That has to be definitely been taken up by the government. We have suggested in our meeting with Secretary and the Commissioner that this aspect need to be taken care of, and they are very positive to take care of that, and they said that they are going to have a larger level civil society consultation with the different women's rights group and the NGOs,
Right,
to develop a kind of a framework to take care of this issue.
Right. This has in fact been a point that many people from your fraternity, from NGOs, have raised the need for shelters to be really brought in to the city, even to the state. But while the Chennai Corporation has provided shelter per se, do you believe they've kind of washed their hands off the security aspect when it comes to young children or maybe even women?
No, I think this is the first time this kind of work is being taken off by the government, and the Supreme Court has given directives to the state governments to open shelters for every 1 lakh population. So this has never been done earlier. So there has to be there are some initial initiative when you start this kind of massive program, there are some problems, but I am very sure that unless these are the aspects, and especially as you rightly mentioned, that women are vulnerable and they face a lot of problem in the street, and when they come to the shelter, unless these issues are not taken care of, no one will come to the this homeless these shelters.
Right. So since now activists like you have raised these points with the concerned authorities, how long will it take for that kind of a mechanism to really take form at the ground level, at shelters like this?
I think I am very sure that 12 shelters that government has opened, government is as soon as possible, they have to call a civil society meeting and human rights activist group to come together and have a joint consultation, and also the women, those who live in the street, they have their own organization, homeless people's organization. There should be a tripartite meeting of civil society organization, government and the homeless people's organization to come up with a kind of a standard operating procedures and the framework, so that it will definitely guide the people, those who are in charge of running the shelters. Unless these are in these SOPs are in place, so it will be very difficult to how to move forward on this direction.
Let's hope they do walk the talk. But as far as you are concerned, you are a social worker. How far is the feedback and the response that you have received been so far? We've had a few people over there in the story showing some sort of a reluctance to get into those shelters. But what's the feedback that you've been receiving?
No, we also get the same feedback. Actually,
why is that? Is it only because of the privacy factor, or is there more to it?
No, I think this is the only 3-4 days back these shelters have been opened. So many people do not know about this thing, and this kind of facilities are available. So that's why we suggested that there has to be community consultation. So a lot of people should know that these facilities are available by the government, provided by the government now, and then we can take their suggestion what they actually want in those shelters. So right. A lot of advertisement and lot of word of mouth need to be spread, and lot of communication need to be sent to different people, right. So that people come, it is their shelter. It is government is just providing this shelter. This shelter, the stakeholder of the shelter are the homeless people. They should know, and they should come forward, and they when they come to know about this kind of securities are available in the shelters, they will definitely come forward.
Right. Let's hope more and more activists like you bring up such important basic points like privacy screens and even separation for men and women, especially when it comes to rehabilitation. Absolutely. Because it's something important for them. Absolutely. Thanks very much indeed, Mr. Jyoti, for joining us this evening. Well, adding to some more voices of support, let's hope that the MLAs also will do something in the favor of homeless people in a particular constituency. Now, you, the voter of Tamil Nadu, went out and stood in the long winding queues, inked your finger and elected your local minister. But have you ever thought of for a split second even, how proactive really they are at the ground level? How much of follow through is really there on poll promises? Well, Ndtv-Hindu is doing just that with our series of MLA Monitor. On today's radar is the 1000 Lights star winner, Miss Valarmati.
It's early morning, but Valarmati is already out, wanting to touch base with the people of 1000 Lights. Having faced a tough fight in the April 13th elections, Valarmati is now trying to nurture the constituency which had, after all, been former DMK Deputy Chief Minister M.K. Stalin's home turf. So, she takes the Meet the People trips quite seriously.
முக்கியமான பிரச்சனைகள் குடிநீர் பிரச்சனை. அதாவது குடிநீரும் கழிவு நீரும் கலந்து வர்றதா சில குற்றச்சாட்டுகள் சொன்னாங்க. அதெல்லாம் உடனடியாக தீர்க்கிறதுக்குரிய சம்பந்தப்பட்ட அந்தந்த வட்டத்தில் இருக்கக்கூடிய அலுவலர்களோட தொடர்பு கொண்டு சரி செய்யணும்னு கேட்டுட்டு இருக்கிறேன்.
As we watch, Valarmati walks into the corporation playground, taking everyone by surprise. But the young men recover fast and tell her they need a good gym and clean drinking water facility in the grounds. She promises to look into it all.
மாண்புமிகு அம்மா அவர்கள் அறிவித்திருக்கின்ற பல்வேறு நலப்பணிகள் மக்களுக்கு போய் சேருகின்ற விதத்திலே நாங்களும் பொதுமக்களோடு இணைந்து இப்பொழுது அவர்களுக்கு கிடைப்பதற்கு வழிவகைகளை செய்து கொண்டிருக்கிறோம். இது மிக முக்கியமான பிரச்சனைகள், மக்கள் எதிர்பார்க்கக்கூடிய பிரச்சனைகள், பல பிரச்சனைகளை என்னுடைய கவனத்துக்கு சொல்லியிருக்காங்க. அதெல்லாம் மாண்புமிகு புரட்சித் தலைவி அம்மா அவர்களின் நேரடி பார்வைக்கு எடுத்து சென்று அதையெல்லாம் தீர்ப்பதற்கு நிச்சயமாக நடவடிக்கை எடுப்பேன் என்று தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன்.
Water and basic amenities, this is what everyone here wants. And Valarmati, who entered politics in 1972, seems ready for the challenges ahead. After all, it's her third stint as an MLA. And she seems to be aware that today, winning elections is just the first step. Nurturing the constituency is a full 24/7 job. In Chennai, with reporter Lalit Jude, Kuku Alex for NDTV-Hindu.
When we come back on Headlines now, we'll tell you who is going to take the box office hit with them tomorrow. It's a pitched battle between the lover boy of boys and Munna Bhai.